Well, first of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for this invitation. It's an honor for me to share with you this issue about reconnecting grazers to grasslands and grasslands to crop landscapes. I am only a representative of my research group. I'm Paulo, but I'm representing a bunch of people that work together in our research group in southern Brazil and even international colleagues. So this is the proposed outline. First of all, I will try to present that agricultural intensification trends are producing uniform food production systems. Then I will try to show some side effects, which is summarized in less diverse systems and the disconnection of grazers. Then I will show you, based on that grazing animals are a paramount trophic level to ecosystem functioning, I will try to present you some reflections about the grazing science. Well, I have no conclusion, sorry, just thoughts and doubts to share with you today. Let me start with this. Well, there is a lot of people, a lot of literature in the world explaining how the intensification path of our agriculture has disconnecting food production from nature. This is one book from Professor Ian Gordon that states that we are doing a very high specialized agricultural systems which are disconnecting agriculture from nature, and agriculture and nature is the foundation of since the domestication of plants and animals. It was always the foundation of agriculture. And there are people in our group that states that intensification is not really the problem, the intensification per se, but it's the intensification with less diversity. So it's the path of the intensification. So let me try to get some examples of this path. On the left, you have rice paddy fields in Japan. It's near Tokyo. It's on the north, in Tsukuba. And on the right is rice paddy fields in Brazil. I was wondering when I took those pictures, why are they so similar in very different countries with very different edaphic conditions? This is very specialized systems where we have just one commodity produced per year, no cover crops in between, no grazing animals. In southern Brazil and Uruguay, Argentina, rice paddy fields always evolved with grazing systems. But even we are becoming much more and more specialized. And in the same time, this is winter, we could have cover crops and grazed cover crops. So why is this the trend? Again, there is a lot of literature of consequences of these specialized agricultural systems. Pollution, sure, loss of diversity, biodiversity, decoupling, especially nitrogen and phosphorus. So, again, this is a way to show you, using integrated crop livestock systems as complex systems, it's a way to show you how the path is decreasing complexity and increasing specialization, but with uniformization of these cropping systems. A paper from Rachel Garrett and co-authors showing how crop and livestock are becoming especially decoupled and in commercial agricultural regimes all around the world. For sure, this is kind of country-specific, but there is a general trend of decreasing integrated crop livestock systems areas around the world, and it means decreasing or increasing in specialization. And this trend we are also facing in Southern America. This is a paper with my brothers in Uruguay and Argentina showing that in the last decades, the advance in cropping areas, mostly soybean and eucalyptus monocultures, are going over native grasslands area. So again, highly specialized agriculture, decoupling crop and livestock. So this is a general trend. So let's talk about this reconnection. And let me present to you some of the win-win benefits of the reconnection of crops and livestock. We first have to remember that herbivores are crucial for system functioning. And there is a sort of zoogeochemical cycles which are very important, in which the role of herbivores are very important. And even if we are talking about plant rotations, and with diverse plant rotations, we cannot have this kind of paths if we don't use herbivores in those systems. On the right, very interesting recent paper showing how all these, and again, this is the theme of the Congress: soil, plants, animals, humans, grasslands, how they are connected, and they show how they are physically connected by the different microbiomes in these different compartments: animals, soil, plant, and animals. So we are connected. So this connection, when we have these compartments disconnected, for sure there are problems. We have been advocating this reconnection of animals, grazing animals in croplands, for increasing the multi-functionality of the cropping landscapes. We argued that a close reconnection at the local scale of herbivore livestock production systems with cereal, for example, cereal-based crop systems in this paper, would help farmers to maintain and recover the fertility of the soils. The grazing animals are very important in certain nutrient cycling, which is really important for animals to rotate in those systems in order to recover soil health. We have a lot of data on this issue. So let me give you an example with one of our long-term experiments in southern Brazil. This one has 22 years in which we have rotations of pastures and soybean monoculture, and with different grazing intensities, or no grazing in the cover crop. So these are the treatments. So to give you first an idea how animals can contribute in the, I would say, in the overall production yield. Overall yield. So this database of 22 years, since 2001, you can see on yellow the soybean monoculture. So it's just one commodity produced per year where cover crops are not grazed. And on the right, in the green, you have the yield of soybean in a system where the cover crop is grazed. Okay? So you can see the different production around in a temporal scale. The animal production is in terms of soybean equivalent each year. So if you use only monoculture, this is the average yield, 47 bags. Each bag is 600 kilograms per hectare, 600 kilograms of soybean grain. So the average is 47. And when we use integrated crop livestock systems, meaning we have already the cover crop, but we graze that cover crop, we increase in 53% or 26 soybean bags per hectare on the average of these 22 years. So animals can increase the food yield per unit area. But one thing that is very important is how animals enhance the system stability along the years. So again, in red, it's the no grazed cover crop, and the numbers G10, G20, G30 is the grazing intensity in terms of sward high management. So you can see that in terms of yield resistance, stability, and yield potential, when we look at the human digestible protein production, or in the same unit, soybean production and animal production, there is an increase, an enhancing system stability. So animals, grazing animals, can bring stability in terms of cropping systems. Even if you do if you build good agricultural systems with rotations, no-till systems, and so on, without animals, you don't have some paths of nutrients. You can mimic this with plant rotations without herbivores. And this means new actors. This is just one example, but there is many of very different life systems when you have herbivores in those systems with profound effects in everything, just showing, for example, concerning Lyme, this poor continuity when you have only plants, different when you have animals and these new actors acting in terms of the physical dynamics of calcium and magnesium, for example. So we have papers showing that this increases, for example, in three times more in depth and time. Another example, now with dung, the special distribution of dung patches during this rotation with grazing animals. So just to show you that the question was how how it impacts the soybean yield. And we show that when in the presence of grazing animal, in the presence of dungs, we have much more phosphorus and potassium availability. And each plant that was in those area has more legumes per plant. And the final impact is increase in yield per unit area. Another example, this is another long-term experiment in which we have rotation, or not a rotation, with sheep. Again, soybean monocropping with cover crop not grazed, compared to grazing with sheep. So, as reported by Dr. Richards, I guess yesterday, an increase in microbial biomass when you use graze, and an increase in fungi when we are using grazing animals. So just as an example to show you that the grazing animals alters all the nutrient cycling and increases all the microbial biomass and the diversity of that biomass, or that microbial biomass. So now let's talk about reconnecting grazes to grasslands. Even if these can sound strange, how to reconnect grazers to grasslands. So this is my point. Just pictures. This is a dairy system in China, and a dairy system in Brazil. Again, it seems to me that they are becoming similar, very specialized. Why is that? What are the consequences? Are those grazing animals? Let me illustrate using a survey from the EGF working group grazing to talk about grazing. This is what the trends in Denmark, Netherlands, and Ireland. And the report from Van den Pol van Danselaar is that, in general, the popularity of grazing is declining in Europe, with few exceptions, again, country-specific, but in general, it's declining. The point reported by Van den Pol van Danselaar is that grazing is complicated. Grazing is often more complicated than a no-grazing system, and therefore farmers choose not to employ grazing in their systems. This is especially true in new farm situations, new sheds, and for young farmers. And I add these questions, is this complicated only for farmers? How about for scientists? I have the feeling that grazing sciences is becoming less and less frequent, heading to extinction. So this is a question to the EGF, maybe. Not about grazing, but about grazing scientists. Are they declining? By grazing scientists, I'm not talking about people that use grazing treatments, for example, for the studying of environmental outcomes. It's not this, it's the grazing process, studying the grazing process. Are we uncomplicating, sorry for this, uncomplicating grazing? Again, a picture to send you a message. In Antioquia, Colombia, we are uncomplicating grazing by disconnecting ruminants, herbivores from grasslands. It is a grazing animal. I don't know the answer. Another point in the same idea about using fencing as an issue. Do we have an obsession for controlling grazing? We have been building different grazing schemes, fencing animals, trying to control grazing. And control grazing is not the same as giving the opportunity to graze for the animal. So this is one question that I transmit to you to answer. Are we fighting against animal preferences? I guess this, according to this answer, we can clarify maybe what we have been doing in grazing science. Are we forcing grazing by focusing on grazing efficiency? Well, we have a lot of concepts in grazing management, but I guess that we are forgetting to ask animals what they want. I have the feeling that we have been fighting diet selection, preference, palatability, and so on. So should we ask, or should we continue to treating grazing animals as harvesting machines? To present to you our approach on this issue. So let me introduce you the grazing process as a matter of time. Time it's a parameter which is not being used in the equation of the grazing concepts. And time is very, very important in all the process. For sure, grazing is limited by nutrient content of forage plants. It's limited by digestibility, by the amount of herbage mass. We can show many parameters. But the main point is time, is the intake of required nutrient per unit of time harvesting in pasture or grazing. So we have been trying to put this answer to grazing animals. This is just a picture but the message of this picture is how we try to reconnect with grazing. For sure we have some device, but it's the reconnection, the physical reconnection with grazing, trying to understand what the animals really want. And this is one outcome, that the level that we can nowadays describe the grazing process. Bite per bite from each grazing horizon along the time. With this, we really reach the knowledge of what exactly the animals are doing during, for example, a period of occupation in the strip. So let me, what we do with this knowledge. So let me present you two examples of how we can use this connection to promote grazing. The first example is this long-term grazing experiment that we had in southern Brazil. I guess it's the oldest one in Brazil, 37 years of different grazing intensities. And we have been studying primary, secondary production, the impacts on vegetation dynamics, carbon sequestration, methane emissions, and so on. But for the purpose of the topic, again, in the atom of the grazing process. And my PhD student, learning with grazing animals in complex pampa native pastures in Southern America. On the right, you have the cumulative intake with different bites, a complex vegetation that offers a huge bite diversity. And I mean bite diversity to build a meal for a grazing animal. We have been looking at functions. There are functional plants and there are functional bites. According to each cluster of bites, bite masses, and bite with nutrients concentration. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a pyramid of human, human nutritional pyramid. I'm not sure I'm telling well. But we can build this functionality here presenting according to temporal scales from autumn to spring. 4% is the herbage allowance, is high grazing pressure. 12% is moderate grazing. So animals with higher grazing intensities have lower bite diversity. And moderate grazing enhances bite diversity, and animals are more able to use this diversity in different temporal scales. So these are an example of a bite type in 4% herbage allowance, which means higher stocking rates, 12%, which is a moderate stocking rate, the different bite types, and for sure by using different grazing intensities, we defining these complex vegetations, we define the probability of reaching the nutritional requirements. And this is an outcome, for example, that we work with farmers from these kind of studies. These are vegetation targets for sound grazing management indicators. Tussocs from 0 for 35%, frequency, herbage allowance 8 to 12, pasture hay 9 to 12, and herbage mass for 1400 to 2500. So we start with bites and go up to the grazing systems and the proposal of grazing management. A second example, now with sown pastures and ewes. And here I will present you what we call a kind of animal preferences versus human perception management orientation. On the right is what we currently have been doing in terms of trying to have a resting period to maximize pasture production, and then put the animals to have a good harvesting efficiency what means this is an Italian ryegrass. This is a pre-grazing of 25 centimeters on the right, and 5 centimeters as a post-grazing mass. That's what we, for the purpose of this presentation, what we are calling human perception of grazing management. And on the left is the response of the grazing animals when we use those kind of protocols to ask animals what they want. And when they respond at this question, they respond that I want 18 centimeters as pre-grazing and 11 centimeters as post-grazing. This is why the animals use less time for harvesting their required nutrients. It's only this. Okay, so let's see what are the results. On the right is the currently, or the, how I call it, the human perception on the right, and on the left is the animal perception. On the right is 4 grazing cycles. Again, it's Italian ryegrass, okay? A resting period of 35 days, a pre-grazing of 1,300 kilograms dry matter per hectare, post-grazing 379. So almost 1 ton of dry matter harvested during each grazing cycle. Light interception in pre-grazing 95%, herbage accumulation rate of 33 kilograms dry matter, and herbage production of 7 tons. Okay? On the left, RN is the animal point of view, the 18-11 centimeters. So it's the resting period is only 7 centimeters, from 11 centimeters to 18. It's just this. This is the resting period, which on average is 12 days. And then we have 12 grazing cycles. The pre-grazing herbage mass is only 800 kilograms dry matter. And the post-grazing is higher, it's 475. Again, if you see the photos, one can think that there is a lot of forage being lost. And the herbage accumulation rate is 52, and the herbage production is about 9 tons per hectare. So what you can see is how plants respond for what animals are wanting that we present to them. The amount of forage harvested per unit area is 1 ton higher in the animal perception, and we have almost the same or very similar harvesting efficiency by very contrasting grazing management paths. So this is a way to tell that harvesting efficiency is, efficiency is a good word, isn't it? If I ask you who wants to be more efficient, everyone will raise your hands, isn't it? It's a good word, but it's a trap in this situation. Average daily gain higher when animals have what they are asking for. Live weight gain, stocking rate is lower, for sure. It's lower in that situation. And what is very interesting is what we measured in terms of animal health, meaning parasites very lower in the RN proposal compared to RT. In RT, animals are forced to graze down horizons that if they could choose, they would not graze, but they are forced to. So this is one of the results. Again, what occurs in terms of daily intake in organic matter, and the efficiency that it's important, really important, more important than harvesting or efficiency, is the efficiency of utilization, how much dry matter is used to build a kilogram of carcass. Much less in the RN compared to RT. It's lower cost, and we have lower emissions of methane per unit carcass that we are producing in those systems. When we, so I'm finishing. When we take these concepts and we apply in the level of farm designing systems with those concepts, what we have, again, this is what was not chosen by our research group. This is what animals, they asked for. On A, this is what is regular. I would say general in worldwide is high intensity and high defoliation frequency. I'm using this graph with dimensions of defoliation to make my point more clear. The A is what we have been doing in general, worldwide, grazing. The B dimension is non-existent, at least at commercial farms, meaning low intensity and low frequency defoliation, very, very low stocking rates. What we have been doing and naming differently around the world, from A to C, that saying is resting tired plants, giving some rest, and looking at a good harvesting efficiency. So it's a high intensity, low frequency combination. And the dimension, which would mean low intensity and high frequency, it's a nonsense one. You maybe, as far as I know, you will probably not see anything in the literature. But when we ask animals, this is exactly what they want. That SWART targets are exactly a low intensity, high frequency grazing scheme. So this is the outcome when we put really animals in the grazing management equation. So to finish, I would say that once we were very connected to grazing animals, and this is an example for me, is the herders, the oldest herders, that really were connected to vegetation, knowing the abundance, the nutrient concentration, old knowledge, and they don't fight against preference. They use preference. Here is palatability. They use it to manage grazing animals. They define the path they define the time of the path in order to build a meal in grazing animals. I get that we are losing that as managers of grazing animals. Maybe we have been discussing grazing methods, for example. Maybe too much. Maybe it's an over-budgeted debate. Debating how many slices we have to cut that pizza, and not the amount or the diversity of the items in the pizza, which is really important. This is the important. It's not how many slices I'm using. I have the feeling that we are in the wrong path in grazing sciences. Is this time to reconsider the current trend of disconnecting grasslands from croplands? Specialization, simplicity, uniformity, or are we fearing the complexity? Escaping, avoiding complexity? And maybe it's also time to reconsider that we must learn with grazing animals. Not teach them what they have to do, where they have to graze. You have to learn with them and then build agricultural systems, grazing systems, to give them the opportunity to do what they know. They are in this plant-animal stuff interface from millions of years. Maybe it's time to be more modest. Thank you. I hope we can welcome you in these two conferences that we are organizing in Brazil, the International Symposium on the Nutrition of Herbivores in a few weeks, but it's time still to go there. And in November, from 7 to 10, the International Symposium of Integrated Crop Livestock Systems. It will be a very honor and pleasure to have you there. Well, sorry. Would you put the last slide, please? Just to thank my audience and to show the slide that Fernanda did it to me. It's not my last slide, but anyway, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I would like as well to thank my co-authors in this presentation. I would like to thank as well my family and my students. The reason why I'm working. This is the point. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. So we have time for a couple of questions for Paulo, if someone has one. Any questions or comments? I know I learned a lot in thinking about letting the animal teach us what to do. We'll probably reflect on that some in the next couple of days. But here's one right here.
Thank you, Paulo, for the presentation. I was wondering if you could share any thoughts on funding opportunities for long-term grazing experiments. One of the challenges of maintaining these experiments for a long time is that maintaining them costs quite a bit of money in terms of land area and in terms of animals. I was wondering if you could share any words of wisdom on how you navigated the funding opportunities.
For sure, thank you for the question. And let me go straight on this. There's no funding. Yeah, very, very difficult to maintain those kind of experiments. Funding is, I guess it's everywhere, 2-3 years. Not for long-term experiments, there is no funding as far as I know. I didn't. What was my students?
So the question was, how did Paulo do it? And you said you did it by your students, keeping it going? Okay. Okay, Peter?
Trezor are students. This is the difference.
Thank you very much. Question then, sort of related, but how could academics, at least in the U.S., succeed when you're taking such a long time, right? That it seems to me that the modern system doesn't reward people working on long-term studies. So in addition to the money, there's the professional success aspect, and we need to find ways to address that too. I don't know if you have an answer for that.
Again, I don't have the answer. And the problem is that this is not a matter of individuals. It's institutional. We have to have reconhecimento, the recognition of the institution. This is the point. We don't have in Southern Brazil. And, well, very difficult.
Sounds like a lot is just the personal commitment to figuring out ways to keep things going, whatever you have to do. Yeah. Well, let's give Paulo a big hand, big thank you.